First at 9.
Bringing you the latest from here at home and across the world from the News First Centre in Colombo. A very good evening. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
And I'm Sharon Silva. Let's start off with a look at your headlines.
Headlines on News First at 9.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the army will not get involved in the elections. Number of complaints of election law violations rises to 450. Misuse of state property on the rise. Free trade agreement with 100% tax freedom to be inked with China. A statement from the Minister of Investment Promotion. Right to education of 15 students continues to be shackled due to a delay on the part of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission. Leader of Bangladesh's Jamaat-e-Islami party sentenced to death for war crimes.
News First at 9.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that he hopes Navi Pillay, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, will submit a fair report at the UNHRC sessions.
Now, the President made this comment in an exclusive interview with Indian-based media organization, the Hindustan Times.
In an interview with the Hindustan Times, President Rajapaksa said that all international laws that are made by big and powerful countries only apply to weaker countries like Sri Lanka. The head of state said that this system should be revamped. The president also ruled out the alleged involvement of the army in the polls and said, quote, "I will say this once and for all. The army is not participating in the polls, but merely providing security," unquote. In the interview with the Hindustan Times, the president also said that the relationship between the government of India and Sri Lanka is very good and added that Sri Lanka will never allow any country to act against India's interests from Sri Lankan soil.
This is News First, Election Headquarters.
We are 4 days away from the provincial council polls that will be held for the northern, central and northwestern provinces.
As the election draws closer, the number of incidents of election-related violence has been increasing.
Now, the election secretariat says that so far 450 complaints regarding the the violation of election laws and acts of violence have been reported.
The Complaints Unit of the Election Secretariat notes that the highest number of complaints were reported from the Kurunegala district, with the number standing at 107. The Election Secretariat adds that 52 complaints on acts of violence have also been reported. It says that a large number of complaints were also filed regarding the employment of public officials for elections-related activities. According to the Election Secretariat, 60 complaints relating to the use of state vehicles and 19 complaints relating to the use of state property for election activities were also reported.
Convening a media briefing today, Transparency International Sri Lanka commented on public officials being employed in election campaigning.
The use of public officials for various election campaign activities, notably the encouragement of some Urdu officials and field-level officials to participate in election campaigning, is especially widespread in the northwestern province. I too served as a public official at one time, and if a governor of a province who is appointed by the president can participate in election campaigning, then the secretaries of ministries who are also appointed by the president can participate in election campaigning. What will happen to the country if this is the case?
විශේෂයෙන් උතුරු පළාතේදී
Material and human resources belonging to the respective departments and ministries are being openly used, especially in the northern province, as a result of ministers coordinating secretaries and advisors contesting the elections in that province. If we are to analyze this, we can specifically point out the Ministry of Economic Development, the Ministry of Cooperatives and Internal Trade, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, the Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Land, the Ministry of Construction, Engineering Services and Housing, the Ministry of Rehabilitation and Prisons, and the Ministry of Cultural Affairs.
The Ministry of Economic Development says that reports concerning its employees and officials engaging in political activities are completely false.
The communique notes that reports of graduate trainees and development officials from the Ministry of Economic Development as well as managers and development officers from the Samurdhi Authority engaging in political activities are completely false. The communique reads that officers of the Ministry of Economic Development work aiming to create a Sri Lanka without poverty and engage in their respective duties in the field. The communique issued by the Ministry of Economic Development further reads that its officers solely engage in public service in the sectors assigned to them and in no way engage in any form of political activity.
The JVP charges that problems have cropped up in the distribution of polling cards in the Vaunia district.
That's right. Shane, Politburo member of the JVP Sunil Handaneti expressed this view today.
ඡන්දදායකයින්ට නිල ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාව ලැබිලා තිබුණත් මනාපංක අපේක්ෂකගේ නම්
Although voters have received the official ballot paper, they have not been given the list of candidates, their preferential numbers and symbols. This problem is present in Mailankulam, Mahamailankulam, Mamadua, Ambalangoda, Tamiliratta, Irattaiperiyakkulam and other areas. We don't know whether this was a mistake by the Department of Elections or a mistake by the Department of Posts when distributing the documents. We informed the Elections Commissioner to ensure that voters receive the ballot paper with the name list of the candidates by election day.
නිල වශයෙන් ඡන්දදායකින්ගේ අයිතියක් වෙන ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකාව සමග ලැබෙන්න ඕන මනාපංක ලයිස්තුව අපේක්ෂිත නාම.
International election monitors who are in the island to observe the forthcoming provincial council polls arrived in Babunia today. They are expected to remain in the northern province until polls conclude.
Among the international monitors currently in the island are representatives from India, Nepal and Bangladesh. The group held a discussion on the elections and related activities with the Vaunia District Returning Officer at the District Secretariat today. At the discussion, Vaunia District Secretary Bandula Harishchandra said that any complaint relating to the elections can be brought to the attention of this team of international election monitors.
Meanwhile, a Commonwealth election monitoring team arrived in the island today. The election secretariat said the team engaged in a tour of the north. The Commonwealth election monitoring team are here as independent monitors. Let's now take a quick look at some of the views being expressed on the election campaign stage.
There is a massive public service in the country today. If you compare it with the world population, you will find that Sri Lanka has the largest number of public service employees. Sri Lanka has the largest number of people who obtain wages from the government.
The public sector employees' poem has been written as such. A wage of 30,000 and 6 1/4 mouths to feed. The quarter must refer to the smallest child. 10,000 for the rent. 6,000 a month for the mother's medication. 8,000 to repay debts. 6,000 left over. Then he writes in his poem, both children have to be schooled. Medication needs to be obtained. 6 1/4 mouths to be fed. Funerals and weddings to attend. Appearances to keep. And 6,000 to do all of this with.
ජීවත් වෙන්නේ කෙසේද කියාපන් මේ යන්නේ කොයිද ආශ්චර්ය මාවතේ නොවේද ජනතා විමුක්ති පෙරමුණ ගැන අපි කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ.
We do not speak about the Janata Vimukti Peramuna. Their politics is very easy. Today they will hatch a plan to topple the government of the day, and when another government is elected, they will hatch a plan to topple it before it is sworn in. This is the politics of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna.
The blame does not lie with the parents or the teachers and principals at school. If people with the skills necessary for the jobs available are not being created, and if there are no jobs for the educated, then it is the education system and not the education minister who should be held responsible.
Welcome back to the news. Speaking in Ibbagamo Kurunegala yesterday, Minister Salinda Dissanayake revealed that efforts were made by him to bring former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga to Sri Lanka to topple the United National Party government.
I was told by Uma Maheshwaran that we will be given a Lebanon guerrilla training course in this camp. She said that it was the assistance I can render to bring Chandrika to Sri Lanka. I did a Lebanon guerrilla course together with Plot. I can handle any weapon. I could be shot from behind, but not from the front. I was given 2 AK-47 assault rifles and other types of weapons. I took everything. But they told me something to this effect. They will not give me the weapons. I was told to use what I learned and take it away. I took the weapons to Colombo and kept it in a special place. I was the one who provided security until Chandrika was made president. There is no one in the history of this parliament who provided a service like I did. This seat was made amidst numerous sacrifices. But it is infected by germs once again. I know how to remove these germs.
විස බීජ ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා අතේ. ඒ විස බීජ ඉවර කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලාත් මම දන්නවා.
Speaking further at the event, Minister Salinda Dissanayake said that he was able to ensure his seat because he faced violence with violence and that he has now changed his methods of facing opponents. You can listen to the entire speech made by the minister on Final Cut unedited tonight on our sister channel Sirsa TV after prime time news at 10.
In more local news, Minister of External Affairs Professor G.L. Piri says that foreign forces are attempting to prevent the people from rallying around the president and the government.
The minister made these comments at a media briefing convened by the United People's Freedom Alliance today.
Every 6 months, a great deal of attention is paid to Sri Lanka by the Human Rights Council in Geneva. Can anyone say that Sri Lanka is the most pressing issue in the world? When a government is in power for a long term, problems arise. The normal trend is that popularity decreases and power shrinks, but that has not happened here. Foreign forces are attempting today to change this situation. The best way to defeat this is for the people to rally around the government and the leadership of the government.
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna says it will bring forth a strong alternative political force in the provincial councils.
JVP Propaganda Secretary Parliamentarian Vijitha Herath made this comment at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
The government, which cannot say that it built the economy or established democracy and law in the country, has now fallen to the cheap level of spreading communalism and religious divisions to canvass votes.
බෝලේ උස්සලා පාස් එක දෙනවා ආණ්ඩුවේ ජාතිවාදීන් ඒ පාස් එකට ඩෑෂ් එක ගහනවා.
On the other hand, communalists in the government are passing the ball to the TNA, which is doing the dash for Tamil communalism. Both sides are doing the same thing. While both sides are dashing around here, Madam Pillai is standing on the sidelines and dashing both sides. What is needed is a true and strong alternative political force in the provincial councils. We can guarantee that we will build a strong alternative political force in the opposition in this provincial council.
And up next is a newspaper cartoon of the day, which we selected from amongst today's English newspapers.
The 7th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting was held in neighbouring India. The host city for the 7th Shogam held from the 23rd to the 29th of November 1983 was the picturesque city of Goa. Then Prime Minister of India Indira Gandhi chaired the 7th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting.